What's up guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary people. In this video, I'm going to answer an extremely sensitive and holy war question. What is the best programming language for beginners? And if you think I'm going to go like, oh well, it depends on what you want to do in the future, you're not right. In fact, I'm going to give you my straightforward answer right now. The best programming language for beginners is C. Yes, you heard me, it's not Python, it's not JavaScript, it's the ancient C. Now I'm going to pause a little to let it sink in and also give you some time to go get some rotten tomatoes. Alright, if you want to know why I believe C is the best programming language for beginners, and also if you hate me already and want to prove me wrong, please stick around. First off, when I say that C is the best programming language for beginners, I don't mean to say that it's the most useful one, but we'll talk about those later in the video. There are two reasons why I believe C is the best first programming language to learn. One, static typing, and two, the absence of objects. Now what the heck does this mean? See, the only thing computers do, all of them, without exception, is they process data. And any code that you write using any programming language essentially makes up a set of data processing instructions for the computer. So the point I'm trying to make here is that programming is all about data. So understanding data is crucial if you really want to learn programming. Now, all data that computers process is nothing but a logical sequence of ones and zeros, also known as binary sequence. One problem here is that the same binary sequence can be interpreted in numerous ways. For example, this binary sequence, if interpreted as text, represents by. However, if we interpret it as an integer number, it corresponds to this number. And if we interpret it as a floating point number, which simply put is a number with a fractional part, it corresponds to this number. To address this problem, we invented data types that tell the computer how to interpret a certain piece of data. Now, to be able to use a certain piece of data in code, we can use variables. But before we can use a variable, we need to declare or create a variable. So in statically typed programming languages, when creating a new variable, you have to specify its data type, and that data type cannot change. The opposite of static typing is dynamic typing, and two programming languages that are often cited as beginner-friendly, JavaScript and Python, are dynamically typed languages, which is reason number one why they're bad as the first language. So what's wrong with dynamic typing? Overall, nothing really, as long as you understand what's going on underneath the hood in dynamically typed languages, which as a beginner you most likely don't. One reason why I believe dynamically typed languages are actually bad for beginners is because they make it seem like they've eliminated data types, while in reality, they just hide them. A loose analogy here would be using GTA to learn how to drive. There's just so many real-world things that games normally leave out, which makes the in-game driving experience pretty much useless when it comes to actual driving. Now, many people argue that the absence of explicit data types in JavaScript or Python makes these languages beginner-friendly. To me, that's an illusion that comes from the fact that the code written in these languages usually looks leaner, but leaner doesn't always mean simpler. So the reason why I think you should choose a statically typed language as your first programming language is because 1. To learn programming, you do need to understand data types, and 2. I believe it's easier to switch from a statically typed language to a dynamically typed language than doing it the other way around. But C is not the only statically typed language. In fact, there are a lot of those. For example, Java, C#, Kotlin, Swift, and all of these are being widely used, and they're more common than the plain old C. So why should you choose C? Reason number 2 why I believe C is the best first programming language is that unlike Java, C#, Kotlin, Swift that I mentioned before, C is not an object-oriented language, which just makes it simpler. And by simpler, I mean there's just less stuff that you need to know to be able to write your own code in C, and therefore it's more beginner-friendly. Now, let me repeat. When I say that C is the best language for beginners, I don't mean it's the most useful one. If I were to list the most useful languages, then JavaScript and Python would definitely be at the top of the list, which is probably one reason why many cite these two as the best first languages. But now you know why that's not the case. Alright, so what's the point of this video? Is it just to convince you that C is the best first language? Not exactly, no. Is it to ruffle some feathers and start a heated discussion in the comment section? Not at all. This video is meant as an intro to a new video series, which is actually a remake of the first video series on C that we made ages ago, where we go over the basics of programming using code written in C as learning examples. Now, even if you have already started learning programming using other languages, but you don't really feel confident just yet, it wouldn't be a terrible idea to start over with C. Anyways, I'm very excited to get started and I hope to see you all in the next video. And this is it for this one.